Hello viewers, welcome to the episode of Other Means of Transport in India. Globally, we have seen many major means of transport such as cars, coaches, trains, ships and airplanes. But India, since the ancient time, has some of the traditional means of transport other than the above. In this episode, we will be discussing on some of the conventional means of transport. For better understanding, this episode is divided into 5 parts, namely walking, palanquin, hand-pulled rickshaws, cycle rickshaws, bullock cart, horse carriage and other animals, bicycles, motorcycles and scooters, auto rickshaws and public road transport, monorail, tram, metro, suburban railways, country boats and coracles and helicopters. Let us now discuss walking, palanquin, hand-pulled rickshaws and cycle rickshaws as means of transport. Walking. Walking is the earliest known means of movement for legged animals including the early humans, and as of the date there is not much of a significant change in the walking styles. In many countries, walking is observed as the least polluting activity and most sustainable means of transport. People are encouraged to walk by the governments by creating awareness about the health benefits of walking. Some tourists also feel that by moving on foot, they can gain much knowledge about a place than moving in a closed vehicles at fast pace. In India, there are many pilgrimage sites which motivate the pilgrims to reach those sites on foot without bothering of the distance, and yet there are other places which have great tourism potentials but require the visitors to go on foot since they lack proper infrastructure for the movement of any vehicle. There are other situations where the governments insist to visit some of the natural destinations on foot without harming the natural environment of the place. Palanquin, also known as palkis. Palanquin is known in Indian languages as palki or doli. Palanquins are the legendary vehicles of ancient India which were the most essential means of transportation for the rich and wealthy people. It is not truly known that when the first use of palanquin took place, but they are mentioned in literatures as early as the Ramayana. A palanquin is a bed or a couch made of wood with 2 poles attached to it lengthways through the middle and carried by 4 to 6 men. Even to this day, palkis are treated as most essential wedding transportation means, and brides are carried to the bridegroom's places in the traditional Indian weddings. Palanquins are not only famous in India but also in other countries too. There are other types of palanquins which were famous in European and some parts of medieval Asia. Some of the examples are the lectica in ancient Rome, jiao in China, sedan chairs in England, palki in Bangladesh, gama in Korea, wo in Thailand and tahaterwan in Turkey. Hand-pulled rickshaws. In 1890s, palanquins were the symbol of socio-economic status of the aristocratic families and landlords. The wooden version of the hand-pulled rickshaws made their way into India through Kolkata from Japan. These hand-pulled rickshaws were also operating in the countries like China, Hong Kong and Malaysia. Since then, these rickshaws became the essential means of transport. Many a times they have been showcased as a unique identity of Kolkata. These rickshaws are more effective during the monsoon season when the roads and alleys of the city becomes impossible for taxis, cars and autos to commute due to water logging. Kolkata is the only city in India to keep up with the hand-pulled rickshaw, while in many countries such as Japan, China, Hong Kong and Malaysia, which have replaced them with the motor powered rickshaws or tuk-tuks. Cycle rickshaws. Cycle rickshaws are basically a type of tricycle designed to carry passengers and goods on a for hire basis. The first cycle rickshaw was used in Singapore in 1929 and they are extensively used in most of the Asian countries including in India. The first cycle rickshaw in India plied in 1930 in Kolkata and even today they are very much common in rural and urban areas. In countries like Indonesia, Cambodia and Manila, these cycle rickshaws have the passenger cabin in the front and the driver's seat in the back, while in the rest of the South Asian countries, the passenger cabin is in the rear of the cycle. Bullock cart, horse carriage and other animals. Bullock cart, especially in rural India, bullock carts have been used as a means of long distance transport for passengers and goods since a long time. The bullock carts are pulled by one or two oxen and a cart is attached to the oxen using a special wooden yokes. Usually, the driver and other passengers sit in the front of the cart and the goods are loaded in the back. Even to these days, bullock carts are used in rural areas owing to the high cost of modern vehicles. Even though most still believe that the bullock cart was the traditional vehicle used in India from a long time, the use of bullock carts can be even seen in the countries such as Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Costa Rica, China and other countries too. Horse carriages. Horse carriages have become popular during the British rule in India. A horse carriage are locally known as tanga or buggy. The carriage is pulled by one or two horses which is similar to that of the bullock cart, but the major difference is the weight. Usually, bullock carts were little heavier than the horse carriages. Even to these days, we can see these tangas standing near the tourist spots offering the tourists to take a ride around the destination. However, most of the metropolitan cities have banned the use of slow moving vehicles including the horse carriages and bullock carts. Horse carriages have become a means of transport for bride and grooms in marriages taking place in northwestern India. Other animals as a means of transport. Unique to Indian modes of transportation are the transportation of people and goods on the back of animals like camels, yak, donkeys and elephants. These animals are the most important means of transport in lieu of the natural, geographical and government restrictions. In the northwestern part of India, which is mostly covered by sandy desert where the other means of transport fail to provide necessary services, mostly in rural areas, camels provide the needed transport facilities. Camel carts are also common in these areas. Elephants also have played a significant role in transporting people and heavy goods. One can see the moving elephants on the roads carrying people and loads in the states of Kerala, Assam and other states neighboring forest areas. In many national parks in India, use of elephants for safari purpose has been referred to as the most eco-friendly and comparatively a safe means of carrying visitors. Elephant rides are also made available in major palaces in India to give the visitors the experience of the bygone royal era. In hilly and mountain areas in India, horses, yak and mule are used as the major vehicles for transporting people and goods up the hills and mountains. Particularly in the hill stations, tourists can enjoy the horse riding, yak riding and mule riding experience while climbing the hills or descending. Bicycles, motorcycles and scooters, auto rickshaws, public road transport. Bicycles. Bicycles came to India in 1890 and gained popularity since 1905. In India, bicycles were imported till 1953 and many manufacturers started the production in India during these times. Soon, bicycles became the prime medium of transport for the lower and middle class people in India. Tourists, especially those arriving from Europe, prefer to travel either on foot or on bicycles. It is also eco-friendly and beneficial for one's health. Today, India is the second largest manufacturer of bicycles in the world and major exports are to the Middle East, Africa, USA and Latin America. The renowned Hero Cycles is the largest bicycle manufacturer in the world. But bicycles are facing heavy competitions from automobile manufacturers and there are less or no dedicated cycle tracks in Indian cities. Motorcycle and scooter. Motorized two-wheelers are very popular mode of transport in India due to their fuel efficiency and use in congested roads. The use of motorcycles in India dates back to 1950s when the government of India ordered motorcycles for the Indian Army and the police in the western part of the country. The 350cc Royal Enfield Bullet was the first motorcycle in India. Scooters in India were launched in 1949 by Automobile Products in India known as API, but were less popular and scooters became popular only during 1970s and the credit goes to the Bajaj Auto. In 1983, two international companies LML Motors and Piaggio entered into a joint venture to manufacture P-series scooters in India. Today, motorcycles and scooters have become the essential means of transport for the lower and the middle income group in India and also to easily commute in the traffic congestions. They play a very important role in promoting tourism too. In many cities, for example, the cities in Goa, motorcycles and scooters are rented by the owners to the tourists on hire basis. Auto rickshaws. An auto rickshaw is a three-wheeled motor-powered vehicles to transport passengers and goods. They generally do not have doors and has the passenger cabin in the back and the driver seat in the front. Most of the auto rickshaws have regulated meter fares. Apart from India, these auto rickshaws are common throughout the Asian and Southeast Asian countries like China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Thailand, Indonesia, Egypt, Nigeria, Nepal, Philippines, Vietnam, but also in many European and other Western countries and the designs may vary with respect to their models. In India, auto rickshaws can be seen in most of the cities. They usually are painted in yellow or green or black color depending on the type of fuel they use. There are a huge number of auto rickshaws in India and their mode of operations differs. Government authorities, however, have put some restrictions on their terms of service. Airports, railway stations and bus terminals in many cities have prepaid auto booths where passengers book the auto rickshaws for a fixed fare as set by the authorities for various locations. Public road transport. Public road transport remains the primary mode of mass transport for most of the population in India. The first public road transport through buses began in 1926. Despite of great opposition and protest from the taxi drivers at that time, the introduction of double-decker buses in 1937 had resulted in transportation of even a large number of passengers from one place to another. Today, public road transport accounts to about 90% of the public transport in Indian cities. Most of the public road transport in India is run by state governments and there are other private service providers too. Compared to the auto rickshaws and taxis, this mode is much cheaper and convenient. India's public road transport vehicles have undergone significant technological changes with exponential growth and a host of new global players like Mercedes-Benz are all set to gain a strong market in the Indian subcontinent. The latest buses introduced in India are equipped with the latest technologies, great looking exteriors and interiors, and most importantly, follow the norms of emission. Today, state governments have introduced more luxury buses like Volvo, Starbus, Tata Marco Polo, Vikings, which are upgraded to match the international quality of transport services to attract the foreign as well as the domestic travelers. India's first monorail opens for the public on February 2, 2014 in Mumbai, serves as a feeder system for the metro train. The monorail service has begun from Wadala to Chembur and can carry 570 passengers, which covers a distance of 8.9 kilometers. The government is also willing to stretch the monorail service till the financial center of Mumbai, Mahalakshmi, in the next few years, a distance of total 19 kilometers from Wadala to Mahalakshmi. Other states in the country have also shown interest to introduce monorails in their metropolitan cities, including Allahabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Indore, Kanpur, Kolkata, Kozhikode, Patna, etc. Tram. Trams were first introduced in India under the British rule, and the first horse-pulled tram service started in 1874 in Bombay, and the first electric tram service started in 1902 in Kolkata, which is the oldest electric tram service in Asia. Now, only Kolkata has trams now being used to transport commuters. These trams are now air conditioned, equipped with television and FM radio, and they were inducted to promote tourism. Metro. India's first metro service began in 1984 in Kolkata, which paved the way for the mass rapid transit systems in India. Metros in India are the examples of well planned and having state of the art automatic fare collection, passenger control system with radio frequency identification based flap gates, integrated security system, new air conditioned rakes and automatic signaling system. In India, metro is operational in the metropolitan cities such as Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad and Kolkata. The authorities are also planning to extend the metro services to other cities with high population and traffic congestion. Suburban railways. Suburban railways are referred to the rail service between a central business district and its suburban areas, which draw large number of people on a daily basis. Though the suburban railway services in India are limited, but still they play a vital role in public transportation as they facilitate the reduction of burden on road traffic. Mainly, there are two types of suburban trains in India. The first one is the electric multiple unit called EMU trains, which have one electric motor and two trailer coaches for each unit, which has the capacity to accommodate 320 passengers. The first EMU was introduced in India is in Mumbai in the year 1925, and the second one is the mainline electrical multiple units or MEMUs, which have 2 units of 8 coaches carrying a total of 2430 passengers. Unlike the EMUs, these trains can be extended to 12, 16 and 20 coaches depending on the traffic requirement. Today, these trains can only be seen in Mumbai, Kolkata, Pune, Chennai, Delhi, Bangalore and Hyderabad. Country boats and coracles. Country boats and coracles are the most needed means of water transport in India, where the land is majorly occupied by rivers, canals, backwaters and creeks. These country boats are operated using motors and custom-made body designs. These country boats and coracles can be commonly seen in the rural areas of the states of Assam, Goa, Kerala and West Bengal. They carry passengers and cargo across the water bodies at lower fares and mostly operated by private individuals and firms. Helicopters. In India, helicopters are used as a means of transport for the ministers of the central government and the state government and army officials. Helicopters are also used by wealthy people to travel to short distances with needed privacy and without confronting traffic congestions of the roads. There are about 45 helicopters in India. They provide transportation of passengers and low volume of goods to the places which are not accessible by road or any other means. India has its own helicopter service company called Pawan Hans Helicopters Limited, which mainly serves the ONGC and its offshore locations. To sum up, there are various modes of traditional transport exist in India apart from the modern modes of transportation such as cars, buses, trains, ships and airplanes. Walking is the oldest and still admired form of transport in India because of the health benefits it causes. Palanquins, known as palkis, have been the means of transport in ancient India which were used to carry women and the wealthy landlords. Bullock carts can be seen even today in most of the rural and some of the suburban areas too. Attached with oxen, they carry people and goods to a long distances. Horse carriages are known locally as tangas, are pulled by horses, and today they can be seen in popular tourist destinations. Bicycles are the least polluting, eco-friendly vehicles and also the prime medium of transport of lower and middle class people in India. Hand-pulled rickshaws are common in the northeastern part of India even to these days, where the passenger carts are pulled by men. Cycle rickshaws are another important mode of travel, particularly in the northwestern part of the country. Auto rickshaws are popular throughout the country and also in many countries as a major means of transport. Buses, monorails, trams, metro trains and suburban railways all concentrate on the mass transportation concept. Today, these transport modes are technologically upgraded to suit the demand. Motorcycles and scooters are the examples of private transportation, but in many cities they can be rented. The advantage of motorcycles and scooters are their ability to move in traffic congestions. Country boats and coracles play a significant role in transporting people and goods across the water bodies. Helicopters are seen as the means of transport for the ministers, army officials and wealthy people. Animals are also used as mode of transport in rural, hill station and forest neighboring areas for transporting people and heavy loads.